This is Alan Bush with ADMIS. In the stock index futures this morning, we are seeing a little pressure in the early trade. This directly linked to news that the Treasury Department is putting sanctions on some Russian businesses. However, we have seen somewhat of a recovery, even though we did have housing starts and permits both coming in much weaker than expected. A little bit of a reprieve on the Philadelphia Fed index. That did come in a little bit better than expected. So overall, though, I'd have to say that futures are performing very well for the news. It still looks like the main trend is higher, and I think this is a trend that will probably continue for quite some time. Over in the currencies, we're seeing the dollar index a little bit lower, even though we should have seen flight to quality buying coming in light of news of the U.S. sanctions against Russia. The yen higher as it normally would be, with the yen considered to be somewhat of a flight to quality currency. Also yesterday we had the pound advancing to a 22-month high against the euro currency, although some of those gains have been given back today. Longer term, still feeling that the pound will be the best performer to the upside. The yen and the dollar index probably the weakest performers. And in the interest rate markets, the Russian sanctions news helping the treasuries, especially at the long end. The weak housing data also supporting futures. Longer term, we still feel that the main trend is higher. And this is a trend that I think will persist across the board in treasuries. So nothing changing in our long-term view. In fact, we are very close to new highs for the move in the 30-year bond. So once again, I would focus on the long side of stock index futures. Currency trends are somewhat moving sideways, but longer term, as we mentioned, higher in the pound, lower in the dollar, lower in the yen. But treasuries, I think, have good value here, even at these elevated levels, and I think we can see higher prices across the board in the Treasury futures markets. Once again, these are my opinions alone and are not the opinions of ADMIS or Archer Daniels Midland.